provide security for the people. If you're a politician, the only way you can be sure that you will not be assassinated before the end of the day is that you get your own private security who can combat any opponent that comes to waylay you with assassins. Look at what happened to the chairman of the Ekiti Central Council. If he had not had his own personal security, he would have been dead. And that's so you see that if you want to engage yourself in a way that you can stay alive, you have to engage private security. And you said that the issue of calling police without response is not passed. You know that the Ewe of Adokiti did mention that the Commissioner of Police in Ekiti State, they made calls to him repeatedly, there was no response. They had to import help from the Commissioner of Police in Ondo State. And you can imagine the distance. If not people who are well connected, you can imagine private citizens who have no means to get across to the presidency or even IG. That is why you see that every person now is getting conscious that the only reason why you are attacking me is because I am defenseless. So if I can harm myself, that can also work. That's number 4. Number 5, which is also most important, the attitude of the law enforcement agencies. The way police react to mass protests, the way police react to ethnic agitations has come to give the impression that the only language that the police itself understand is counter-violence. Because when you go to quell a protest by armless students and you shoot live ammunition at them, the only reason why you have superior power is because of the weapon. When you go to meet mass of people who are protesting in Oka and they are agitating for sovereignty, and you open fire on them and you kill them, next time they don't want to be foolish to go and organize a protest and not have weapons. Because when you shoot and they shoot you back, then you know that you have to be careful how you respond. So these are the factors, and that's why I say we are being economical with the truth. We know that these are the reasons that have led to the proliferation of arms. And then the one that my brother mentioned, which I agree with, poverty, particularly within the regions where we're getting resources. You cannot continue to say you take money from somewhere and do not invest. And the only way you can keep them silent is to arm the people who are oppressing them with weapons. What the Nigerian army is doing in the Niger Delta is worse than what the Janjaweed rebels are doing in Sudan by killing people openly, defenseless people. And it's the same money that you get from them that you use to acquire this weapon. So they have become wiser to say we can also use the same resources to acquire the weapons and defend ourselves, which is why you are seeing Dokubo Asari in what is happening.
Yeah, but Mr. Adebora, let me ask you this. You're a lawyer.
Yes.
Is it legal for an individual to acquire, to own a gun, to have arms? Is it legal?
Oh, certainly it is.
It's legal.
And I will explain, I will tell you why it's legal. Under the Firearms Act, there are 2 categories of firearms: the rifles, the submachines, the explosives. The president will grant you license. You apply to the president to be granted license to own the firearms.
So you must get a license.
So you must get a license. Then
so
for shotguns,
if you don't have license,
if you do not have license, of course, definitely you are holding it unlawfully. And I say, as a quickly before you go, that there is no individual who can be in possession of firearms without some support of another big person. What I'm saying is that I, as a Boladi Borough, will not hold firearms if I do not have assurance that if I'm caught, I can be protected. So the thugs who have the firearms, the political thugs who have the firearms, are being supported and funded by the politicians who are well placed to protect and defend them. So when you say proliferation of arms, you then call to question people who are in positions of authority.
We'll get to that point.
Certainly.
We'll get to that point.
Certainly.
Mr. Langbe, you just said to us that it is a failure of the security agencies, the failure of the system that is responsible for some people acquiring arms to defend themselves. Do you?
I disagree with him because I call that fallacy of hasty generalization. I was happy when he said there is law to control arms and movement of arms, because not everyone has the right to carry arms without license. There are licensed firearms, unlicensed, and when you carry a firearm, particularly prohibited firearm,
AK-47 for example,
prohibited firearm, AK-47 and such spectrum of broad spectrum of firearms, very, very unlawful. Those are the arms that you don't find in the hands of individuals without presidential order. Those are the arms you don't find in the hands of individuals who are not either members of the armed forces, the customs, the police. These are arms that we are talking about. If you are talking about, yes, you have to defend yourself, you have to defend yourself in the context of the law. You cannot take law into your own hands, lest the law will be invoked against you. So we are not calling for a state of anarchy, and we are not going to allow a state of anarchy. The law is sacrosanct, and the law must be used to evoke the sentiment of lawfulness in the community. and that's what we are doing. Be that as it may, that arms are found their way, we have the responsibility of mopping up these firearms. And we have the responsibility of calling on public spirited persons, academic gurus, lawyers, advocates of the Supreme Court to join forces with law enforcement agencies to mop up these arms and make Nigeria a sacred place for good business and investment portfolio. So what I'm saying generally is that we must respect the law, the Constitution of the Federal Republic, which says that prohibited firearms should be only found within the ambits of the law enforcement agencies, the armed forces, the police, customs, immigrations, and other lawful bodies, not where we find militias carrying them. Then when you want to talk about militias like MASOB and the police action against MASOB, the MASOB themselves, we have tried to call them to order. You can't have, it's a lawyer, you can't have a sovereign state in another sovereign state. It's felonious, treasonably felonious to have a state running its own affairs in a sovereign state. So if you are claiming sovereignty in your own sovereign land, then we call it to question. We have passed through the fundamentals and rubrics of civil war arising from the sovereign state of Biafra, and we have put that to rest. We are all one Nigeria, and we should be seen as such. Any group that is trying to cause such insurrection and mop up arms and proliferate arms, particularly prohibited firearms, will be called to order, and that is what we are doing.
All right.
Lawfully.
Thank you very much. Mr. Eva, where do you think these arms, this ammunition, these submachine guns, the AK-47, how do they get into this space? Where do you think the source is? Like Mr. Lakwe said and Mr. Adogura, it is not an item that you can easily acquire without really going through the right channels to get the license. But you have people carrying it.
Depending on how desperate the man who is carrying the arms, how desperate you are to acquire these arms, and it depends on your also your state of mind. For example, let me give you an example. Before these last elections, the former Minister of Information, Chief Jerry Ghana, said that arms are coming into the country. In fact, I appeared in 3 television programs to confront Jerry Ghana. Jerry Ghana told us that arms are coming into the country, but nobody will arrest Jerry Ghana because he's a Minister of Information and because he's above the law. In this country, people are above the law. It's very sad. And this type of things, if we're in the same society, people like Jerry Ghana will be arrested and dealt with. And the number of people, because Jerry Ghana saw arms coming into the country, for him to tell us that arms are coming into the country because of elections. And you see, especially in my area, the Niger Delta, the elections were decided by the supremacy of the gun. Arms are coming into the country, the minister is telling us that. And we are now shouting that, minister, tell us the arms, who are the owners of this up till now? So
but he's a minister of information.
Yes.
It's only informing you, alerting you that dangerous weapons are getting into the system.
Because the information is with him.
Yes.
And we expose the arms and we deal with the owners of the arms.
No, he's not supposed to pass it to you. He's expected to pass it to security agencies.
But now we have not seen the arms.
Yeah.
The arms are now in the hands of people using it to kill people.
No, do you know if he passed the information to security agencies and they dealt with it?
And they said these are the arms that Jerry Ghana told us, and now we are dealing with the people. There is nothing like that. Look, my sister, it is terrible because in this country, one funny thing about this country is that if terrible thing did not happen to me, did not happen to the other person, and it happened to those people or that person, it means that everything is well with me. That is the type of life we are living in this country. If not, if everybody is concerned. The other day when the governor of Benue State was shot, Akume was shot, and you see all the governors and senators were saying, we are going to buy a bulletproof jet, bulletproof gun, and a bulletproof vehicle, and they are all now acquiring bulletproof vehicle. They are not interested in, engaging the idle brains, people that are suffering, to bring down crime. When Rawlings took over government in Ghana, the political will, prostitutes of Ghanaians were all over our community. But when that political will, the man said that things must change. Today our daughters are going to Italy, sleeping with dogs, animals, and other things. We tie them down there, don't go. They will still go because of the climate here. Rawlings changed the situation in Ghana. Where are the Ghanaian prostitutes that we saw around 1980, 81, and 82? Where are they? They are all there because the situation, the economic situation changed. It is not by campaigning, things are alright. What are they talking about? What are they talking about? These people that are roaming about, they have now forced Nigerians now. Every street you go, you see barricade. Burglary proofs are meant for windows in the 70s, in the 80s. Today, burglary proofs are meant for streets now. If we are not careful, in the next 10 years, burglary proofs will be meant for the air. As you enter your street, there will be another burglary proof. You enter a cage. Why? When we have the will to change the economic situation of this country so that everybody be engaged, then we reduce crime. So we now can identify those people who don't want to engage their arms.
Has it gotten to the level that your
But governors are talking about bulletproof vehicles. And if care is not taken in the next 10 years, they will be demanding for bulletproof paint. They will go to London or other areas and ask manufacturers to bring bulletproof paint and eyeglass because the bullet can still penetrate the eyeglass. In fact,
Crime Fighters, the #1 security program on television.